I don't see no opportunities, and I felt that everyone are not supposed to like fold their hands and watch what's happening in the country. Everyone could always play their part. So I didn't think there was any reason for me to say that it's not possible for me to actually fly the jet because there is no female in Nigeria that's ever flown.
She was brilliant. She was young. She was brave. She had a career that would have spanned several years. At a very young age, she conquered the skies and was seen to be destined for more exploits. But death had a different plan for her. At the tender age of 24, she died in circumstances that are still difficult for many to comprehend. She was caught in her prime. Her name, Flying Officer Tolulope Arotile Sarah Arotile. She was the first ever female combat helicopter pilot in the Nigerian Air Force. In this edition of Back in History, we bring to you the story of this Amazon of inestimable value, whose death brought tears to her family, friends, loved ones, the whole country Nigeria, and tears to those who never knew her while she was alive. Welcome to this edition of Back in History. Tolulope was born on 13th December 1995. She was Yoruba by tribe, but was born in Kaduna State of Nigeria. Her father is Akintunde Arotile. He is alive at the time of the making of this video. He is from Ife in Ijumu local government area of Kogi State in north-central Nigeria. Tolulope's mother is also alive. In essence, Tolulope predeceased her parents, a situation which is always contrary to nature and contrary to the expectations of the human society. The young Tolulope attended the Air Force Secondary School, Kaduna, for her secondary education from 2005 to 2011. Upon graduation from secondary school, she applied for and gained admission into the Nigerian Defense Academy, Kaduna, for her tertiary education. She was admitted into the academy on 22nd September 2012. She was a member of the 64th regular course of the Nigerian Defense Academy. She underwent her training in the academy and performed well in her classwork and in physical training. At the academy, she studied mathematics. She successfully graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics. And on 16 September 2017, she was commissioned into the Nigerian Air Force as a pilot officer. She left Nigeria to South Africa for more flight training, and on 15th October 2019, she was winged as the first ever female combat helicopter pilot in the Nigerian Air Force. She also underwent tactical flying training on the Agosta 109 power attack helicopter in Italy. Arotile also held a commercial pilot license. She was indeed a well-trained pilot, and these flying licenses were obtained while she was still very young. Arotile had great mastery of the airways, to the admiration of her instructors and her superiors. She was deployed to engage in air combat with dangerous groups like ISIS and Boko Haram, a task she performed and surpassed expectations at every given mission. All of these missions were dangerous, and anything could have happened to Arotile while in the air, especially when she dared to go into the most dangerous zones. But what pained most people was the fact that Arotile did not die in the course of any of these dangerous assignments. She died in the most unexpected and unusual manner. It is reported that she was hit by a vehicle driven by her former classmates. This took place at the residential quarters of the Air Force Base, Kaduna. The name of the driver of the vehicle was disclosed to the public as Nehemiah Adejo, and the vehicle he drove on the ill-fated day was a Kia Sorento SUV. The spokespersons for the Nigerian Air Force at the time, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, announced Arotile's demise as follows on the Twitter handle of the Nigerian Air Force. Quote, "It is with great sorrow that the Nigerian Air Force regretfully announces the unfortunate demise of Flying Officer Tolulope Arotile, who died on Tuesday 14th July 2020 as a result of head injuries sustained from a road traffic accident at Nav Base, Kaduna. Until her death, Flying Officer Arotile, who was commissioned into the NAV in September 2017 as a member of the Nigerian Defense Academy Regular Course 64, was the first ever female combat helicopter pilot in the service." End of quote. The news of her death was received with mixed feelings by a cross-section of Nigerian citizens. While many citizens believed the announcement of the Air Force that Arotile died as a result of injuries sustained in a motor accident, several other citizens were skeptical about the story. Most people suspected foul play. The Nigerian Air Force, however, debunked these insinuations and maintained that the death of Arotile was caused by, quote, "blunt force trauma to the head and significant bleeding resulting from being struck by the vehicle." End of quote. The Air Force berated the insinuations and added that the service had invested massive resources in Arotile and would never contemplate to lose such prized assets. It decried the attempts to politicize her death, urging citizens to respect the sensibilities of families, friends, and her Nigerian Air Force colleagues who are still mourning the loss. The Air Force maintained that the circumstances surrounding her death were clear and that there were witnesses who saw when the accident occurred, and that most of the witnesses were civilians who ordinarily would not have any reason to make cover-ups for the Air Force. Describing the case as a civil case, the Nigerian Air Force informed the public that the Nigerian Police Force would be taking up further investigation of the case and charging the suspects to court. A side of the story has it that Arotile was strolling in the residential quarters of the Air Force Base when a vehicle drove and passed her. Shortly after passing, the driver noticed quickly that the person he just drove past was her classmate in secondary school. He then engaged the reverse gear to go and meet her and exchange the usual pleasantries of classmates. It appears that he reversed with speed, and in the process, Arotile was knocked down. Whatever may be the correct side of the story, what is absolutely correct is the fact that Tolulope Arotile was cut down in her prime and is no more with fellow mortals on this planet Earth. The body of the late Arotile was preserved in the mortuary, and 9 days from when she was pronounced dead, precisely on the 23rd of July 2020, she was buried at the military cemetery located at the Airport Road, Abuja, Nigeria. Arotile was accorded full military honors as the Chief of Defense Staff. General Gabriel Olonishakin led other military top brass and dignitaries in paying tributes and laying wreaths in her honor. The funeral service was conducted by the Nigerian Air Force Director of Protestant Chaplaincy, Group Captain Dogo Gani, whose sermon was taken from Isaiah chapter 57, verse 1 to 3, which reads thus, unquote, "The righteous perish, and no one takes it to heart. The devout are taken away, and no one understands that they are taken away to be spared from evil. Those who walk uprightly enter into peace and find rest as they lie in death." End of quote. Still at the funeral, there was a hymnal rendition by the choir. At exactly 11:05 a.m., the remains of Arotile was lowered into the grave with her family members standing at the graveside. It was indeed an emotional moment for the family and for the Air Force family. 21 gunshots were fired into the air in her honor, in keeping with military tradition. The lowering of her remains and the firing of the gunshots in her honor marked in reality the end of the earthly life and the end of a beautiful career of the young, vibrant and record-breaking girl child who had impacted so much within the short period of time that she lived on planet Earth. In his tribute at the funeral ground, the Chief of Air Staff at the time, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, noted that, quote, the Nigerian Air Force was still in shock over Arotile's death, and that her passage had cut short the expectations of the service. He described the deceased as, quote, a confident combat helicopter pilot who braved all odds to achieve her dreams, end of quote. He added that her short stay was indeed impactful. The Chief of Air Staff continued, still on quote, I must confess that even at this moment, the Nigerian Air Force is still in palpable shock and grief at these, because it is the loss of a mentee whom the Nigerian Air Force had so much confidence in, and our expectations have been cut short. As a combat helicopter pilot myself for several years, I can tell you that this young and confident combat helicopter pilot in the history of the Nigerian Air Force braved so many odds to get to where she was before her demise. As a service, we had so many expectations of Tolu, which she was already living up to with ease. Although she is no longer with us, I must say that her short stay with us was highly impactful. Tolu carried out her assignments both on the ground and in the air with professionalism, commitment, and confidence. End of quote. On her part, the elder sister to the deceased, Mrs. Damilola Adegboye, in her tribute expressed gratitude to God for giving the nation Tolulope Arotile and the Nigerian Air Force for giving her the platform to excel. She added that because of the trust and investment of the Nigerian Air Force, Tolulope showed exemplary skills too difficult to emulate. She added that as a child, Tolulope had always dreamt of flying a plane. At that age, her aspirations were blurry, but today we can all gladly testify to the impact she had made, not only in the Nigerian Air Force, but among family members, colleagues, and the entire nation. End of quote. The National Assembly of Nigeria observed a minute silence in honor of the late flying officer Tolulope Arotile. There were also tributes from several citizens of the country and from the diaspora. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, the First Lady of Nigeria at the time, on her official Facebook page noted thus, unquote, it is with a heavy heart that I received the news of the demise of Flying Officer Tolulope Arotile, the first female Nigerian Air Force combat helicopter pilot. I condole with her family, the Nigerian Air Force, and the country over this irreparable loss. The deceased was an intelligent young woman, a huge potential, a representative of both Nigerian women and youth, and what they could achieve. End of quote. On his part, President Muhammadu Buhari, in a statement signed by Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, noted thus, quote, President Muhammadu Buhari received with deep pain the passing of Flying Officer Tolulope Arotile, condoling with the family on the loss of such a promising officer whose short stay on earth impacted greatly on the nation, especially in peace and security. The President salutes Arotile's bravery in the field to protect the country from the onslaught of bandits and terrorists. assuring that her memory will be indelible and her efforts remembered. The President commiserates with the Nigerian Air Force, airmen, airwomen, and all friends of the deceased, recalling her deft skills in maneuvering combat helicopters, which he had physically witnessed with pride. The President sympathizes with government and people of Kogi State on the loss. The President prays that the Almighty God will receive the soul of the departed and comfort the family she left behind. End of quote. The story of Tolulope Arotile is a story of brilliance and bright future cut short by the cold hands of death. Her memory shall remain green in the hearts of her parents, siblings, loved ones, and several more persons for many more years to come. Thanks for watching this episode of Back in History, and do remember to subscribe to the channel or follow the page for regular notification on every new video.